Hey guys, Ritz and Castano here. Happy Tier List Tuesday. I was originally going to do a whole, regular kind of video essay ranking the Weezer albums, but I forgot to save the script after I went through all the trouble to write it, and I figured rather than go through all that work again, I'll just give it a good old tier list. I'm on it. It's 2:30 in the morning right now. I'm on my 6 tequila drink. Oh, this one I'm drinking right now, it's got tequila and Fireball and Coke and Gatorade, and it's just fucking terrible, and I love it. So, this is not going to include Spring, because I've only listened to that. I've listened to that a couple times, just enough to review Spring itself. I just don't feel like it's been long enough for me to really be able to rank it amongst the fucking, the rest of the Weezer discography. So should I start it from the end, or... No, I'll start it from the beginning. So here's a hot take. Here's a spicy, hot fucking take for you. I kind of feel like everyone feels like they have to say that the Blue Album or Pinkerton is their number one. It's just... obviously not if you go on Reddit. Those people are fucking freaks, but... it's like an unspoken thing, and I'm going to drop you a hot, spicy Happy Meal right now. My number one is neither of those albums. And I'm going to go ahead and, that being said, start this off with the Blue Album in A tier. And see, here's the thing. It's not that I deny that the Blue Album is S tier. It's got S tier stuff in it. I don't deny the significance or the objective, just pure sex of the Blue Album, but it doesn't... I'm going to rank this... This is a subjective tier list based on my personal preference, and if I'm looking at the albums that I go back to the most, the Blue Album is just not... I don't go back to the Blue Album as often as the other ones that I'm going to put in S tier. And to me... that just puts it in a different category. So, that being said, Pinkerton, S tier. Yes, I choose Pinkerton in the ongoing Blue versus Pinkerton battle. I understand the arguments that people have for it. I do get, it's the whole thing that our big daddy Fantano said, that it would be like if Nirvana released Nevermind and then Bleach. That's a good point, and I understand why some people prefer Blue over Pink, but I like that weird shit. It's got more atmosphere. It's got so much, just the whole feel and experience of the album is so much more distinctive and atmospheric to me than Weezer and than the Blue Album. And plus, I like that weird shit. I'm not gonna lie. I like that fuzzy, goofy, weird shit. So, that being said, the Green Album, here's a hot, spicy hot take for you. I'm going to say the Green Album is C tier. I have a very basic bro opinion of the Green Album, and I find it kind of boring. It's a lot better than some Weezer can get, but it's also a lot worse than they can be. And I really like the song Glorious Day. That's probably the one from Green that I listen to the most. Hashpipe and Island of the Sun, that, those are the singles. Those are what they are. They're Weezer staples. But aside from those three, there's just not... The whole thing sounds like one really, really, really condensed 30-minute song. Not even, isn't it 28 minutes or something? It's just... You know what? I'm not going to go further into it. I'm not going to say that it's predictable and boring, because there's a lot of people there that love the Green Album, and I respect that. But for me personally... it's just not really my cup of tea. And speaking of cup of tea, you know where Maladroit's going. Boom. I'm not going to say that Maladroit's underrated, because, again, that just goes back to the basic bro opinions. And you know what? I'm not above that. It's just, to me, Maladroit, it represents what Weezer can be. It's a very... odd little chapter in Weezer's history that they never really tapped back into again, and I really do stand by my theory in my first Weezer video where I say that I don't think that people talk about it very much because it doesn't have the same kind of dramatic backstory as a lot of the other Weezer albums do, with all the selling out and the coming back and the selling out and the coming back. You know, Maladroit is just a really, really solid album. And just the instruments, like, this is, you know, everything to me. Let me know stuff in my drink and I'll think of what I'm gonna. Okay. It's just, you know, the instrumentation is just so explosive and booming, and just the songs are painfully catchy. And like I said, I love that weird shit. I am a weird kind of guy. I like the weird stuff. You know, I made another video explaining my love of Maladroit a lot more, and I was in a way more sober place of mind, but I love it. To me, it is peak Weezer. You know, it is every time they say that they're going to return back to a rock form, this is what I think of. It's the kind of just not holding back, and Rivers just being his raw, authentic self at the time. I understand that when he was more or less, it seems like him being his authentic self in the modern day gave us Okay Human. So I understand that, you know, this is 2002 Rivers. It is, you know, we're not the same person as we are 20 years ago, except to me, because I'm a fucking loser. But it's just, you know what? I fucking love Maladroit. I'm not going to sell it anymore. It is my favorite Weezer album. And it just, you know, Shabbat Shalom, motherfuckers. So next up we got Make Believe. Is that even in here? I can't. Oh, there it is. You know, it's not the only tier list I could find that had all of their albums up to Van Weezer only had S through D. And I don't feel right quite putting it in D, because there's some other stuff that will go in D that is a lot worse. And for what Make Believe is, there is some decent stuff on it, you know? I mean, Beverly Hills is just waiting. God, fucker revving his engine at like 2:30 in the morning. I live in a college town, and I wait to record it at the fucking ass hours of the night so I don't have to hear that shit and have that shit disrupt my fucking recording, and they're still doing it, revving their fucking engines at 2:30 in the morning. You might not even have heard that. I probably could have just pretended that didn't happen, but whatever. So, you know, there's good stuff on Make Believe. Beverly Hills, for what it is, it's completely, it's kind of shallow. It's a total sellout track, but it's catchy. I like it. I'm not going to pretend that I skip over that song every time it comes up in my Spotify. And Perfect Situation is just absolute Weezer staple. Not everyone. I can't say that, but I fucking love that song. This is such a pity. Very underrated track, but the rest of it, it comes off as kind of like Pinkerton B-sides, but without the really weird fuzzy production, just with this way too clean, very poppy kind of tone to it, and it's just so shallow, and I have to give it a C tier. And I would also have to put it behind the Red Album, but just barely. So it's hard for me to rank. I mean, like, actually, it's kind of easy for me to rank the Red Album, because I find it exactly 50-50. Like, there's 10 tracks, 5 of them I really like, 5 of them I really don't like. So it's like this perfect, just exactly in the middle. And I find I at least find it to be more interesting than you know what? I will put it before the Green Album. Because I do at least find it more interesting than that. And the songs that are on it, I really do like. You know, I was part of that original YouTube generation, so the Pork and Beans video was one of my favorite things in the world when it came out. And I do love Dreamin'. I do think that's a very underrated song. Troublemaker, kind of stupid, but also kind of slaps. It is. I'm not going to pretend that song isn't fun as fuck. I'm not really a fan of the songs that have the other members singing, which is a shame because I don't like the other members any less than I like Rivers. They're all really, really great musicians, and I don't want to discredit them in that way. But I just feel like those songs in particular came off as very weak and amateur. But it just didn't really fit in for me. The Red Album feels very inconsistent, so I'm going to put it right there in the middle, in the front of C tier. So next up, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. What are we gonna do with Ratitude? What kind of question is that? Look, I'm a big fan of So Bad It's Good Stuff. I literally have a signed Tommy Wiseau poster in my living room that I'm looking at right now. I love So Bad It's Good shit. Usually when I get this drunk, I'll watch Pokemon movies and just terrible shit that makes me so freaking happy. But there's parts of Ratitude, everybody knows Can't Stop Partying. Everybody loves / hates that song, but I can't, as much as I would love to give it a pass for that kind of value alone, the album is shit. The album is the epitome of how bad Weezer can get. Like I said that Maladroit is everything good about Weezer, Ratitude is everything bad about them. It's the kind of thing that, the amount of steps an album has to go through, an album by a mainstream band on a mainstream record label has to go through before being widely released. You might be able to hear my cat snoring in the background, but anyway, the amount of steps that an album has to go through to be widely released from a mainstream band, from a big band in a mainstream record label, there are so many steps. And the fact that you got 4 members of Weezer who, it got past all of them, it got past the producers, it got past the record label, it got past possibly anybody who could put a stop to it. They all looked at it and said, or listened to it and said, yes, this is good. Let's put this out there. Let's sell this to human beings. It's the 8th wonder of the world. It is literally the fucking 8th wonder of the world. I don't understand. I can't. We'll never know. We'll never know how that happened. So then we got Hurly, and I'm going to put Hurly right here in the bottom of C tier. You know what? No, I'll put it in front of Make Believe, because I do, aside from the 3 songs that I mentioned in Make Believe, I kind of do dislike most, if not all, of the other tracks, but I don't really dislike anything on Hurly. I just find it very bland. I love Unspoken. That's actually one of my favorite Weezer songs. Memories is, it's a bop, I can't lie. I get down with that song sometimes, but Hurly doesn't really add anything. I made this comparison in one of my other Weezer videos of comparing it to Maladroit in that way, where it's one that's kind of overlooked and not really talked about, but the difference is Maladroit has really good music, and to me personally, I find Hurly to be not very interesting. I find it to kind of be Ratitude, but a little bit rockier, a little bit more rock. They promoted it as, or at least the word that came out when Hurly was released was, oh, it's a return to form. They're gonna try to go back to a rock sound, and it was not that. I find it to be kind of a bland record. I'm sorry. Next, we got Everything Will Be Alright in the End, and I'm gonna stick that right here in B tier. I have a mixed opinion of this album. I understand why everyone liked it so much when it came out, because, after this shit, to actually get a record that genuinely did try to get back into the rock and roll roots, and did, have, like, Cleopatra, I love that song, the Future Scope trilogy, holy fucking shit on toast. That is one of my most favorite things that has ever been recorded musically, or anything like that. I love that. I love the Future Scope trilogy more than porn. It's so beautiful. there's really, really good promise on this album. I'm not really a fan of Go Away. I think that's got some kind of weak songwriting in it. But all in all, it was a step in the right direction. It was a very, very promising step that I feel like fans were not expecting. So, I'll put it up there in B. After that, we got the White Album. And here we go. The White Album is S tier. So, hear me out. For one, I fucking love this album. What can I say? It's the stylistic throwback to Pinkerton that we never thought we would get. It came after Everything Will Be Alright, and then it kind of solidified, oh wow, Weezer is getting back into rock music, and they can do it effectively. And the reason that I put it over the Blue Album is because I go back to it very often. I am compelled to listen to the White Album far more often than I am for Blue. Could that be because of burnout, of Blue being so old and White being only like 6 years old? Maybe. That's fair enough. But the White Album makes me more happy. I love the atmosphere. If you haven't figured that out, I'm a real sucker for atmosphere. I love the feel of it. I love the vibe. I love, I can't think of a song on that I really don't like. California Kids is a great opener. Wind in Our Sail just picks right up from that. Thank God for Girls is just calls back to some of that Maladroit explosiveness. Girl, We Got a Good Thing. I guess that's probably my least favorite one on the album. I could probably take that song or leave it. I'm not saying I hate it though. Do You Want to Get High? That solo is straight off the fucking Pink Triangle. And I'm not going to go into all the tracks, but, and LA Girls is one of my favorite Weezer. Like, if there was somebody who never listened to Weezer and wanted to know what Weezer was, and I could only send them one song, I would send them LA Girls. That is Weezer. That sounds like Weezer, and it came out in 2016. Fucking crazy. So then we got Pacific Daydream. That's going in D tier. In front of Ratitude. I recently did a podcast, and one of the hosts described Pacific Daydream as eating sand, and I think that's the best way to put it. Pacific Daydream is like eating sand. That beach feel, that watery, tropical popness, just stuffing it in your mouth and just feeling the texture of that sand and those hermit crabs swirling around against your tongue and your teeth. And, all right, I know what sand tastes like, but I don't really want it in my mouth. Pacific Daydream, it's just stylistically not for me. It's a style of pop that I don't personally get down with, and it was very unfortunate after getting Everything Will Be Alright and then the White Album to have that. To have, okay, Weezer is back to being their old selves. They're back to what everyone had been waiting 10 years for them to be. What are you going to do now? You just sell out all over again. You just do the same fucking thing. You go right back to it and do something that nobody asked for. It was just a big slap in the face to people like me, fans like me. I'm not like other girls, but I'm like most girls. So, after that, we got the Teal album, and this is where I risk a controversial opinion. I say the Teal album is B tier. I put it behind Everything Will Be Alright, because I do understand that Teal doesn't have a lot of artistic value. It doesn't bring a lot to the table besides memes, but you know what? With how shitty Weezer can be, the Teal album is fun. Are you gonna act like you listen to that and you don't have fun? It feels good. Their version of Happy Together, the stadium rock feel to it is just a fucking banger. And, No Scrubs and Take On Me, it just, chef's kiss. It almost doesn't feel it feels kind of out of place as a studio album, but it is a studio album. And, they consider it that, and therefore I do. And it's fun. And with how boring and shallow Weezer can get, I will take fun. Sue me. So next we got the Black Album, and I'm going to have to put that down at the bottom of C tier. There is a theory that kind of went around a little bit that Teal was pushed out to distract from how bad the Black Album turned out, and who am I to say if that's really what happened? But I would believe it, because I feel like the Black Album, it could have been a decent pop album, but you can't throw that in there and expect it to compete with the Blue Album and Pinkerton. And, I understand that they're never going to make those records again, but as a Weezer album, it just doesn't compare. It was bound to disappoint. And just the... Fuck, what was I... Fuck, I'm drunk. What was I saying? I don't like it. Yeah, I don't fucking like it. And some people do, and that's fine. I feel like it could have been a decent pop album, but, with Weezer sensibilities and with Rivers' vocals that just do not fit in whatsoever. And the fact that it's, again, going back to what I said about Pacific Daydream, such a slap in the face after Everything Will Be Alright, writing songs literally apologizing for selling out and ignoring their fans. They come out with the Black Album that has a song on it almost like basically saying fuck their fans. Saying, Zombie Bastards was meant at the old purist Weezer fans. Saying, fuck you guys. We're going to do what we want. You apologize to the people who made you what you were, and then you say, you know what? Fuck you. We're going to make music for nobody. That's not true. They make it for themselves, and that's what they should do. It's just not... It's not my cup of tequila, Fireball, Gatorade, and Coke. What came after that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, OK Human. So, I'm going to put OK Human at the front of B tier. I have warmed up to this album a little bit more since I originally reviewed it. My review of it on this channel it was a little lukewarm. I had a similar favorite. I had a similar opinion of it that I had to Ubate, where, step in the right direction, even if some of the songs felt a little weak to me. But as I've had it sink in a little bit more, you know what? It's good. I never denied that Baroque and chamber pop was a good direction for Weezer to go in. Definitely fits in with their sound and their style a lot better than some other stuff does. I don't know if I would quite call it A tier. I don't think I would rank it with the Blue Album, but you know what? It's made its way to the top of B tier for me. And last, but not quite least, we got Van Weezer. I don't really know what to do with this one. I part of me wants to put it in C tier, but I feel like that'll be too good. And part of me wants to put it in D tier, but I feel like that will... Wait, what? Why is Black in C tier? No, Black is in D tier. Black goes down here. I don't know how that fucking happened. But Van Weezer... I don't know. I'm gonna stick it in the very back of C tier. Because, I appreciate them trying to make a hard rock album, but I just don't know how this was the result. They literally said that it would be comparable to Maladroit. And again, that was 20 years ago. It's not gonna sound exactly like that, but Van Weezer, it's just poppy Weezer, but with loud guitars. They've made other albums in recent years that have sounded more like an old school rock Weezer record, but Van Weezer is just not that. It sounds like It sounds like Hurly, but with Van Halen tones, but with lots of guitar solos and, pedals turned up to 10. That doesn't make it a rock album. And it's amazing to me that it's just amazing to me that that's what came out of them after that kind of effort. I like Hero. I actually think that song is pretty anthemic, and I kind of get down with it. And other than that, the other songs, some of them are fine, but some of them, all in all, it's just not. I don't like feeling bait and switched. And that was my whole problem with Green Day's Revolution Radio, is I don't like feeling bait and switched. And I shouldn't base it on that. I should just base it on the music alone, but I can't help it. And I can't help but feel like Van Weezer was a pop album that just thought that putting in a lot of heavy electric guitars would fool people into thinking it was hard rock. And that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for watching. Please cancel me in the comments. Thank you to my top tier patrons, Stephen Walk and Katie King. Like and subscribe, and I'm gonna go make another drink.